Markets have had a standout year, but not all investments are seeing the same returns. Coming up, we'll highlight the winners and we'll set you up for some of the big questions to ask heading into the second half of 2026. So let's dive in to this week's market moves. All right, let's start with what has really worked well this year. Now, remember, heading into 2026, we talked on this channel about some great Global X research on the AI infrastructure build-out. The Global X team asked the question, could this be the start of a multi-year revenue opportunity for chip providers? Well, investors certainly thought so because semiconductor and chip equipment companies were the top performers in the S&P 500 through the first 5 months of 2026. And you can see that reflected in the performance of a Global X ETF like CHPS or CHPS. After that big run, one of the big questions the Global X team is exploring for the second half is whether we're in an AI boom or whether there is bubble risk. So that'll be a key theme to watch. Next, we have to talk oil. Geopolitical jitters led to a huge surge in the price of crude. That has made a big difference for investors holding energy stocks, which are the top performing group in the Canadian market this year. Now, as we start thinking about the second half, the higher price of oil does feed into a couple of important themes Global X is watching closely. One is whether energy risks complicate the path for central banks that are navigating inflation uncertainty. And second, remember we talked at the start of the year about a possible commodity supercycle. When you put all the pieces together from geopolitical uncertainty to the power demands tied to AI and electrification, that remains a hugely important question. It is a market, however, that does not have those chip names we mentioned earlier. What it does have, though, is strength from the energy names we discussed and notable exposure to the gold story. So a key theme to monitor in the second half of the year will be around Canada's value opportunity. Could that commodity strength, coupled with that AI bubble question in the US we mentioned earlier, perhaps close the valuation gap between Canadian and US equities? Now, as always, a reminder, we've got deep dives on many of these subjects in the Insights section of globalx.ca. Be sure to check it out and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next Market Moves video. See you next time.